Hello out there! Welcome, welcome,
Hi.
welcome! Hello, it's Happy New Year! A couple days late, but it's been a year since we saw you last. And that is why I have my lovely background. Yes, it is my old lang syne. Yes, one of my resolutions is going to be to have a lot more dad jokes on the broadcast. I am sorry. We're going to be talking about our New Year's writers' resolutions. And if you haven't tuned out yet, I am here with Gareth and Catherine, and we're going to discuss our resolutions for the new year. We certainly want you to share your resolutions for the new year as well, and we'll get to them as they come in. But just go ahead and flood the chat with a lot of them, and we'll get to them towards the end for sure if we don't get to them along the way. So, Gareth and Catherine, nice to see you. How's your new year going so far?
Hello. Yeah, very good. I'm not sure whether you just ruined it with that particular dad joke, but
It's only going
we'll
to get
see.
better. That's the idea. You start on a low note and then you work your way up.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Coming at the end of 2022, the Daniel Kaplan Book of Dad Jokes.
Yes, right. This is why I'm not a stand-up comedian. I'm just a story coach. Although I have written some comedies before. Although you could be like, you sure about that? I thought they were funny. Kept me tuned in. See, look at that. A fellow dad joke lover. I love it. Dad jokes are the best. See, I'm telling you, it's one of my resolutions. You're gonna get more of them this year. I think dad jokes are a great opener. But yeah, so I feel like I would love to hear, like I said, from all of you what your resolutions are. We've all got resolutions that we're gonna share. Might as well get started with Gareth. You said one of your resolutions is you're gonna read more. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
I mean, I had to think of some things to change because that could stay within the realm of possibility as well. Because I think one thing that really knocks a lot of people off is that they will pick resolutions that are just almost impossible to maintain. I want to say resolutions; it's essentially goals for the year. You know, things to achieve, things to maintain, and sometimes, yeah, it just falls apart because the goals are too lofty. And one of the things that I did recognize in myself, just being too busy in the past year, was not reading enough. And I think we all quite clearly understand to be a great writer, you got to read, and the more you read, the better you can be, and the more
What?
inspiration you can get.
You have to read?
Yeah, you got to read, and that's for me. So I'm setting a goal of this year sticking to at least 2 books a month. Trying, I'll push if I
Nice.
can to a book a week. See if I can kind of double
Ooh,
that, but two a month is,
nice.
is, is certainly doable for me. With spending less time kind of slacking off in my spare time, I'll actually pull out a book and start to read. So that's my first one. Read more.
Nice. And how about you out there? For all of our fellow AutoCrit members, how are you doing on your reading? Do you feel like you don't read enough? What about you, Catherine?
I think for me this year, I've got my same reading resolution that I have every year. Every year, I try to read 26 books by new authors I haven't read. But this year, I did a twist that every single one is going to be by an indie author. And I used the first letter of their last name as the alphabet. So I pick one for every letter of the alphabet, basically. So I've got all
Ooh,
26 authors picked out except for the last name starting with a U, an X, or a Z. So still trying to decide on those.
if
But
you are an indie offer with a U, an X, or a Z as a last name, flood us in the comments. Maybe Catherine will read your book. I'm just saying.
that's right. Yeah. How about you, Daniel? What you reading?
I am reading more this year too. I do actually tend to read a lot. That's not actually on my list of resolutions. We'll get to my list a little bit later because I do feel like I tend to read a fair amount. It doesn't tend to be so much my problem, but we'll get to what my problems tend to be. Garrett says that he's going to dictate more, which I think just means he's going to order me around and make me do things for him, right? No, I don't think that's what you meant.
Yeah, it does have multiple layers of meaning. This one. I'm going to be a little bit more of a dictator. Yeah, this in terms of writing, yes, it means dictation. Um, I'm going to do that more, and this kind of ties into just one of the general I think New Year goals or resolutions that most people tend to have, and I think a few of us might have encountered. But I've put on an ungodly amount of weight over the past 2 years in lockdown, so I've got to shift it. And part of doing that for me is going to be dictation. So actually, just dictating stories while I am, out for a walk or on a
Ooh,
bike or
nice.
anything like that.
What a
Now,
cool
I don't
idea.
usually dictate because I find my writing voice is very, very different to the way I actually speak. It changes significantly. But that's not going to stop me. I'll just still dictate the way I see the story going and then translate it to the written voice and go from there. Again, it's something new for me, something I haven't done all that much. I do use a dictaphone to record ideas as they pop into
Mhm.
my head, but never so much to actually dictate the story. So it's going to be interesting, and I think it just helps to combine two jobs into one for the rest of the year, with benefit coming out of both sides.
That's really brilliant because I'm kind of in the same shape. I think most of us, lockdowns and whatnot, probably could afford to get back into the groove of exercise and getting out and whatnot. So yeah, I totally
Yeah.
with you on that. That's a resolution just in general, not necessarily a writing resolution, but I love turning it into a writing resolution with dictation. And I have literally never tried this. Like I barely even use it to like send a text. So I have no idea if it would work for me or not, but I am going to try it because why not? You know?
Yeah,
Why
it may
not?
be one of these things because I know we all tend to hate our recorded voice, hearing it back to ourselves, and certainly I do. So maybe this will last, maybe not. We'll certainly see.
And for the person who said lost in translation, dictation is where you use like a voice to text to
Oh,
capture
yes.
what you're speaking.
Right. So, like, there's a lot of software out there now that can be on your phone or a laptop or something. And what you do is you are just saying it, you could be like, you know, Justin walked into the room and he saw, and then it'll just type it out for you. And so then when you're done, you have it typed out. Now, granted, um, you have to get used to it because you might have to put in punctuation as you speak. So just walk in the room, comma, or you can just do it later. And dictation's only so accurate in terms of it'll have weird typos and things like that. But I do know people that use it. Professionals use it all the time, and it really works well for them because it goes as fast as you're thinking versus maybe being slowed down by your typing. But yeah, I've never really tried it. Oh, as someone who transcribes dictations for a living, my number one tip is to make sure your mic isn't rubbing on your clothes while you walk and speak clearly. Of course, yeah. If you're going to record yourself talking and then type it up later yourself, definitely make sure you're going to get that clarity of recording because I've done that before. I've done an interview where I had to transcribe it later and I did not do the due diligence and it was awful because there was so much
Yeah,
ambient noise
I've had
that
some
I'd
real
have
horror
be
shows from my journalism days. Just
right.
coming back from set visits and whatnot, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, yeah. It's like what? Yeah, like what? Yeah, yeah. No, no fun. Especially when it's really hard to even get from the context what they were saying, and you're like, I can't just make it up. I'm quoting them. What do I do? Yeah. So, yeah.
There
So
was
be
quite,
careful.
quite quite a funny story related to that. Actually, I remember on one of
Oh,
the set visits I was on, all of us standing around, the journalists are trying to record our conversations with Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones, and in the background there's a bunch of set guys who were working, building stuff, resetting, and they were just banging and shouting and taking over everything. She had to try to shout over them, and right in the middle of, you could see her getting gradually more frustrated as she tried to talk to us, and she just had to turn around. She's like, "Guys," and they stopped.
starting to pull like a Christian Bale. That's awesome. Just dictate more. See, that's the thing. You got to dictate more, including whoever's working for you, and get them out of your way. Maybe you need to dictate to your family that they leave you alone in your writing space. Get a little more assertive in your life. I like that. Multiple levels. Okay.
I noticed a question there from Retro World. Did we cover that? Anyone have any experience or recommendation of
Oh.
software to try on dictation? Yeah, the way I'll be doing it is simply with a dictaphone or my mobile phone, and I'll just transcribe it myself afterwards. However, I do hear good things. I think one of the most widely used is Dragon Naturally
Mhm.
Speaking.
Dragon
Um,
is the one that I
Tends
hear
to
the
be the
most.
leader in the field.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of that software is pricey, but it's for a reason. It does do a great job because obviously, you know what it's like when you're doing the text to speech on your phone and it's a little dodgy. Like it does a much better job of trying to surmise what the meaning could be. And so if it sounds a little bit like a word, but it wouldn't make contextual sense, it'll switch it and things like that, so that it does a much better job for it. Not to mention it trains on your voice specifically, because what you do is you
Nice.
talk into it and then you say how accurate it is and it learns from that kind of software. So it's better. All right. So, what is your next resolution? You say collection complete by May 1st. Ooh, you have a project you have to work on, huh?
I do, and I need to set myself because I'm my own boss when it comes to this one. So I've got to,
I know, right?
get behind myself and say, get it done. So I'm setting a hard deadline for May 1st to complete a short story collection that I have been working on for a long time, but consistently sidelining for contracted projects. And that's just going to be my focus when it comes to fiction projects. Is no ghostwriting, no contracts on that side, just complete this collection, and by May 1st, written, edited, ready to publish.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. And again, that's kind of back to the dictate more, right? So there's
Pretty much, yeah.
there's an assertion, yeah. No, it's good though. You do need, when you're your own boss, it can be challenging because you do have to be assertive to yourself, and you have to also be assertive to those around you because people will be like, "Well, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me?" And you have to be like, "No, I have a project. It has to get done." And it can be hard, especially because as artists, it's like anytime anybody wants you, you're like, you want me, like, and not that you're desperate or something, but you know what I mean? Just every time, you just never want to say no to a gig, really. Like, so it's hard.
True. It's true. There is already one project that I'm just about to put onto the chopping block and say, no, I cannot take this on right now because I need to focus on this. So yeah, kind of be a little extra dictator for myself and work for myself a little more.
Yeah, exactly. Stand up for your own projects. Don't just do other people's projects. Although that's, fun in itself. All right. So I have a few things that I'd like to share. In theory, anyway. All right. One thing that I'm going to try to do more this year is to free write more. If anybody watches me on this channel or watches my classes and whatnot, you will know that I'm a very big planner. In fact, I am like a crazy outliner. I was working on a series and I didn't start what I was doing until I knew how the fourth book was going to go from an outline perspective. That's how crazy of an outliner I am. So that being said, I would like to try something different. I'm going to try to do more discovery writing or pantsing or whatever you want to call it, because why not? It might end up leading me in some interesting directions. So I'm gonna try to go the Catherine route because it just frightens me to death. Because Catherine's like, she starts with like the slightest premise and it just starts going, and that just, I can't even imagine. So I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna see how it goes. But if anything, I'm gonna try to be more relaxed about that sort of thing because I'm gonna see if it increases my creativity or what, just something different. Because I was right, Catherine, right? You basically start with the slimmest of things, right? And you just let it explode like a beautiful plant,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes that works in my favor, and sometimes it doesn't work in my favor. I have to go back and fix a bunch of holes afterward.
I love this. I see a romance novel in your future. How do you know I haven't written a romance novel?
The
I'm just
Beet
saying.
Cake Romances.
It's a man who it's a beet farm. It's like Dwight Schrute on The Office.
It's also that's a fantasy. He falls in love with a mushroom person.
Can a beet man and a mushroom person find love in a post-apocalyptic universe? I love it. Yes. I feel like maybe that would be a fun thing. Maybe we should do that. It's like make Daniel write something, the show, and it's like you give me some crazy suggestions and I have to come up with something in a week or something. That'd be fun. We should try that sometime. All right. I am going to work on a trunk story. There's a trunk story that has been sitting around for the longest time, and I keep telling myself, there's a lot of interesting ideas here. One reason why I abandoned it was because there was a major element of the world building that resembled closely another novel at the time. Well, it's been a while, so it won't seem as close, but also I have adjusted it in my head, so it's not as close. It's funny, though, how that happens, because I didn't have any idea of this novel. It hadn't come out yet. And then it came out, and I was like, like that was my idea. And now I'm just going to look like a ripoff, because obviously I didn't expect this was like a best-selling novel. So I wasn't expecting to compete on that level, but it just looks like a me too, hey, I could do that too. So I didn't want to do that. But I've thought about a different way of handling the world building so it doesn't really parallel it, because it wasn't that close exactly, because the implementation was totally different, but I can make it even less similar. So I am going to work on a trunk story, which is also different in that it is much more fantasy than anything I've ever done before. So
Its time has
yeah,
come.
Catherine's all excited. It's much more fantasy and much less grounded in reality. So I love this. Working on crazy premises is a great way to polish your skills. If you can make a beet mushroom work, you can do anything. Well, now I really want to write that, because I mean, hey, if I can do that, I can do anything, right?
Yeah, we're sitting here giving Disney Pixar ideas.
That's great. Yeah. In a decade it comes out and we're like, really? I didn't even get I didn't get acknowledgement, nothing. It's okay. It's okay. Just name one of your characters Daniel, and it's okay. I'll understand the shout out. It's fine. Ideas are cheap. I get it. It's cool. So here's something else I want to do. This is kind of what everybody else is talking about. Try something completely crazy. I tend to be a little bit in a box sometimes in my thinking, partly because, hey, I think a lot of things through, which is why I can do all that analysis and edit books and stuff like that. But sometimes I think that does make me think a little inside the box. So I love this idea of like beat and mushroom people. To some idea, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something where I would think is just fundamentally broken and never could in a million years work, and just do it anyway and try to break every rule possible within certain reason, right? I'm still going to try to make it engaging and have a hook and things like that, but like try to really break a lot of the conventions in my head, just for the fun of it, just to see what happens. So
Combine that with free writing, I guess, for
exactly
Launchpad.
right. I'm just pantsing all over the place. Like, gonna have a crazy year. Next, the 2023 resolutions, it's like, I need to be more restrictive about what creative projects I do. I need to be a little more refined. I'm going to ask you if you're working on it on every stream until you do. Wow. I'm now getting like, this is starting to become like a Stephen King novel. It's like Quitters Inc., but it's like, or a Misery, but it's like you're gonna make me write this romance novel.
So
until it
Daniel
comes
goes,
out.
yes, it's actually ready. My next novel is called The Beat of My Heart.
Oh dear.
Yes.
There isn't much room for a lot of content, but I am a fun guy, so I should be able to pull it off. I did tell you there'd be more dad jokes this year, and it's like all of a sudden your subscriber base. I'm
See, and all
not
I
even
can
gonna
hear
go
is
there,
badger,
Daniel.
badger,
Oh,
badger.
you really should. You might as well. I mean, that's the kind of feed we're having. That's the kind of feed we're having. Now I want to know about Catherine's resolutions, because I'm gonna find out what she's gonna be up to this year.
Well, besides editing for this amazing community, which is like my dream job, you guys.
Right?
No, I've seriously, other than the reading for fun, this year I have a lot of writing that I have been putting off that I need to get done. I wish I had realized last year that in the months I was waiting on my book last year to get edited, I should have been writing another book. But instead I was like, oh, I can play on Instagram. My book's at the editor, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, don't do that. Don't be like me.
It's social media marketing. Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got
Danger.
2 full novels to finish for this year. One is about half written, and the other I haven't written much on. And 2 novellas that I want to write this year. So it's going to be a busy year. But one of the novels is in a box set with a bunch of other authors, and there is a hard deadline, and I am rushing. I think my editor, I don't know, bless her. I talk about her a lot as a pantser. I decided to switch the story from first person to third person yesterday or the day before. So this has been fun.
Wait, you switched it from what?
From first person POV, where it's from the main character's
Yeah.
point of view, I decided to switch that to third person restricted narrator
Oh, nice.
and
Did you
add a
switch
second
tenses
person's
too?
point of view. So
Did you switch tenses too, just to make it more complicated?
I started to introduce a second character, and I was like, I can't really do that in first person. So now I've got to switch it to third person, and that means going back and like redoing the entire thing up till then, and taking out
Yeah.
all the internal thoughts and all of that. So, yeah, my goal is to survive writing this year.
I did the same thing
Finish on
once.
time.
I did the same thing once. I switched something from, but the other way, third person to first person. And I had the same problem because that was back before I had an AutoCrit membership. And so I had to do all that manually. And let me tell you, that's no
Yeah.
fun at all. It is no fun
Yeah,
at all
no, if you're
because you
gonna
don't get
flip
those
it,
nice
you go into
little, you don't
AutoCrit.
get those nice little colorful, oh, accidentally completely forgot what tense I'm in and everything.
Yeah, go into AutoCrit, upload it, pull up all those first person things and switch them or vice versa. Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic. Have you ever done that, Gareth? Have you ever switched POVs or tenses or anything?
Yeah, it's been a full rewrite for me when that happens. Instead of trying to kind
It's
of
so
massage
hard.
what's already there, I just take it out,
So
break down the scenes and rewrite it.
take it out and
Just rewrite
shoot it.
it. More or less. The old version gets sacrificed, to the gods of the new, and I just tear it apart and put it back
I
together
just feel
from
like you
from
would
the
have to
new.
do that. I feel like you're very ceremonial. You just like get your copy and you like got to the bid and you like blow it up.
Thankfully, it's never gotten to the point of having a wealth of material already written.
Oh, that's
I
good.
think the most getting into it that I've hit something is probably around 25-30K mark. Going, this isn't working,
Nice.
and I've kind of realized why, and
Yeah.
that's got to change. So I'll just break it down in the order of scenes that I've done it already. If you've joined us on previous live streams, you probably heard me bleat on about the value of using spreadsheets to do that, kind of following the story structure scene by scene as you know it. So I'll just do that and then go, okay, well, I need to go back and just start writing it again. Of course, you can use exactly the same events that happen in the scenes. It's just written from a new perspective.
Catherine is a pantser queen. She is. I told you because like
Thank you.
when you see the work that she puts in, when you're like, so what did you start with? She's like, it was a main character with this problem, and that's it. And then from that, it's like,
Yeah. It's like I woke up from this dream and I had to write this book. This girl got on a train and it was filled with monsters. Okay, this is going to be a novel for 2022. Here we go. And this we have novel. And then the other one, the one I'm switching persons, is one I started back in college, which makes it worse because the writing is so bad. But I wrote it back in 2008, 2009. And so now I'm going through going, oh.
that's my
Nothing
trunk
makes
novel.
you feel like you've grown as a writer than looking at your old stuff.
Yeah, I feel like my trunk project. I love the premise and I love the world building, but nothing about the. I've actually shown some of it before. So if you've ever watched some of this, I think on one of the Story Doctor, I ripped up my writing live on air. So yeah, I don't even know if any of it would stay. I think pretty much it's gonna start completely over because it's just ouch. It's really ouch, but I don't know. Maybe some of it. Like I said, the world building was pretty solid. So you have a lot of projects. I know you're very ambitious. So are you specifically just saying you want to kind of do more, or do you have like, I mean, you don't even have to share it, but do you have like a certain number in your head of what you want to get to in terms of completed projects this year?
Well, 3 have to be done this year.
Well, that's a lot right there.
Or the novellas
Like 3
are up
novels?
on pre-order. So yeah, the one once you put something up on pre-order on Amazon, it's a bad thing to cancel it. So
Yup.
I have 2
That's
novellas that
accountability
have
for
to
ya.
be done, and then the one for the box set has to be done because there's like
Awesome.
39 other people waiting for me. But there's the second full novel I would like to get done this year a lot, but I'm beginning to wonder. It's like with all the editing and the writing of the other stuff, my dream novel might have to wait until 2023. I don't know yet.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's tough. It's tough, especially when you're doing all these other gigs and having fun with all that. But your three project, I do love though. This is a little bit. They say watch the hot dog getting made or whatever. This is what goes on behind the scenes in Amazon. Your the authors that you know and love that have put up books, and you're like, wow, they're so productive and they put all this stuff. Maybe, or maybe they're just sweating at the keyboard and they're gonna hit upload at the 11th hour. Just keep that in mind.
Guilty.
Especially as writers, it's all smoke and mirrors. We all know what we're doing as writers, and we have this master strategy, and it just flows so effortlessly to you. You don't have to see all that other stuff. It's cool. We keep it behind the scenes. I love it. So, anything though specifically process wise that you're gonna try to switch around in order to achieve all of this productivity?
Yeah, I am actually planting the one that is
Ooh.
in the box set because, as I said, I started it back in college and
I'm
I
so
just could
excited.
never get to the end. No matter what, I'd get to the same point and I'd keep getting stuck. So I sat down with my muse and she and I planned out the plot to the end of the book, and I'm going to give it a try to see if I can make it
Wow.
work. And then, of course, this is my first time ever writing to publish in third person. So that's a totally different skill set for me.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
funny is I was talking about finishing that trunk novel. One of the issues with is I got to a point in the planning and I couldn't figure out what exactly I wanted to do, and so that's one reason I never finished the project because I knew I didn't really so I've just decided I'm gonna kind of combine that with my pantsing thing, and I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna see what happens, and it'll probably be awful, but I'll fix it, and then we'll see what happens. But who knows? Maybe I'll get there and I'll have a brilliant idea once I'm like actually at that point. I don't know. It's possible.
I
It's
think you
possible.
will. I think you'll cruise on through it.
Aw, you're so sweet, Gareth. Well, we'll
You're
figure
going
it
to
out.
do
I'll give
great,
you,
Daniel.
if you
You're going to
remind
do
me in
great.
the comments, I'll give you an update when we get there.
I find
And
that's
I'll be,
it's always what tends to happen. You get so frustrated with something that you just put it down and walk away, and eventually, after a little distance, you come back, and all of a sudden, it's just like, oh yeah, you just breeze right on through it.
It's true. It has happened to me. Like one thing I used to do, because I used to be a waiter, is I would get to the point in planning and I'd be like, I have no idea, but whatever. And then sometime, like, I would be serving people and I'd be like, and they'd be like, what's going on? And I'm like, I really can't explain, but I just figured out how to like salvage a character arc. And I know you don't care anything about this. You just want your Coca-Cola refill. So I'll be right back. But no, people were used to me having spastic attacks in my workplace and like, oh, you just got a creative idea, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I did. Start dancing around. Yeah, they're like, what? I'm like, I just figured out how to fix that plot hole. You don't understand. It's been driving me crazy all day. This is what happens.
That's right. The life of a writer.
The life of a writer. All right. Any other resolutions you want to share before we get to our comments? And please, like I said, comment. What are your resolutions for this year? We're interested in hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, I think the key point as well is share them, voice it, put it out into the world, and
Yes,
make
it
it real.
does.
And
It
you
makes a
gotta
difference.
you gotta step up.
And I have a pretty good memory. If you come back on a live stream, I might just remember what you said as a resolution. I might just ask you about it. So, speaking it into action can make a difference. So, but anything else, Catherine, before we get to our members here?
No, I'm excited to see what the members have this year. This is exciting.
All right, so we have my main resolution is to publish my debut novel sometime in March and publish three books in 2022. Wow, so it's a busy year. Not only are you going to start, but you have maybe it's a whole series though, which makes sense. Trying to beat that Amazon algorithm. Smart move, smart move.
Yeah, I think that's called
um,
rapid release, right, Gareth?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it works for a lot of new writers. It gets a nice little push. If you can pull it off and keep the quality up, then yeah, by all means. Um, I do love this. Practice yoga finger exercises to get better on the keyboard. I'm not sure if this is completely serious, but it's pretty awesome, one way or the other.
Get one of those learning guitar finger stretch things so you can get super wide finger
Yeah,
splay, and then you just type like a big old spider or something.
Yeah, well, to be honest, they're actually, I know keyboarding wasn't like a mandatory class for a lot of people, and some people maybe took a little bit of it. I mean, back in the day, they used to do typewriters back, but I'm not that old. But but keyboarding, I actually did like have a computer program that taught you fingering and typing, and there was like a little game you played and where the letters fell and you had to shoot them and you had to go fast, and it was fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
and that actually does matter. That does help, especially with productivity. It also, you don't want to frustrate yourself where your fingers are going slower than you're thinking too much, because that'll slow down your momentum. So yeah, that's something to work on for sure.
Yeah, I
A
actually used to
book a
do that as
week.
part of my morning warm up was playing Typing of the Dead, which is a typing version of House of the Dead, the light gun game. But it's words, so you have to type the words fast enough
Yeah,
to shoot the zombies before they get you. I just remembered, yeah,
exactly.
I used to do that pretty religiously in the morning.
Yeah, it does work really well. Book a week. I think this is reading, not writing. If it's writing, wow. No, I'm pretty sure it's reading. But yes, reading a book a week is a great idea for sure. Finishing editing a novel and decide if I'm going to look for an agent or self-publish. Try to figure out which will be better.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing to resolve
Yes.
yourself in, is that strategy, right? Because it is a strategy, and both have their merits. Um, both have had success. So yeah, we're not snobs about how you get your work out there. It's about getting your work out there. So
Yep.
for sure. I would really like to organize the paper in my office and organize my computer writing files so I can find stuff. That is so true. I am very much a data hoarder, and I have to be so careful because it'll get to the point where I just can't find anything. And even creatively too, like I'll have my I'll have like all these different drafts of the same file because it depends on where I was working on it. Nowadays with clouds, it's better. Back in the day, it was a nightmare because I would have like this version on this computer and this version on this computer and this version on my work computer, and it's like but at least now you got a cloud so you can have a centralized one, although you have a backup because that's going to fail sometimes, right? Or you just don't have connectivity, so you still end up with multiple files no matter what you do. But organization can help a lot, because the last thing you want, again, is for it to hurt your creative process. You're all ready to get going and you get started writing and you're like, this is not even the current draft and I have no idea where it is. And then you'll lose your mind until you find it. My resolution is to finally finish self-editing my book before it gives me a nervous breakdown. Yes, dictate that book. Show it who's boss.
You got this, Leah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard, right? There are people, I have to be honest, I'm somebody that generally I like the editing process. Sometimes I like the editing process more than the writing process, because just that initial spitting out can sometimes be a lot more difficult to me than the refining. But for most people, I don't know, maybe not most people, for a lot of people, it's the opposite. That initial write is fairly fluid, and then it's the rewriting and the editing which really bogs them down. So just depends. Uh, Focusing on reading more ARC books and providing useful feedback. Well, that's great. Help out the community. Writers love that. I'm sure Catherine can tell you some ARC reviews are save your life sometimes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I plan on finishing my new work in progress before summer. Awesome. Nice to give yourself a date too, some accountability there. And I know you, Wendy, you're going to be back on the stream, so I may just ask you about that work in progress. I'm just saying. Now that you put it out there, it's going to be knocking on your door. That's what we do here in AutoCrit. We knock on doors and make people write. Let's see here. What else we got? Finish finish writing book 4, write new ending for 3, complete line edits for 2 and 3, and complete content on 4. I love people that have multiple books working at the same time. I'm sure other people are like, how do you even do that? Because some people have to work on one project at once. However, other people like Larry here, they actually find it's more productive because it's different. It really is a different brain set. To me, I don't have a problem with this. I can write a new book and edit an old book at the same time, because for me, I would say the writing the fresh stuff is what I have the shortest amount of brain width for, or bandwidth for. Like I could do that for a while, But the editing, I can do that for a long period of time because it's different. I don't know. I don't know how it is for you. Do you
Yeah.
ever do you work? I know you, Catherine. You have to, because it's your job. You have to do editing and then you have to switch. But even for your own personal projects, do you tend to kind of mix and match where you're at in the processes?
I don't do well writing and editing my own stuff at the same time. I can
Interesting.
edit other people's stuff and
Hmm.
write at the same time, but I can't do both because I sort of lose my characters' voices or they
Mm.
get messed up. Like I'll write one character who's very independent and one character who's maybe less more self-conscious, and I start editing and before I know it I'm putting in responses that the other character would have said, and so I just try to
Gotcha. Yeah,
only
you have to be in
write
that
or only edit.
headspace. Yeah, so you have to be in that story world one at a time. That makes sense.
Mhm.
What about you, Gareth?
Same thing, mostly. Yeah, that's why
Oh
I'm
wow,
kind of pushing back at this point on working on too many contracted projects at the same time,
interesting.
because it's I got to focus and stay in that headspace. Otherwise, I kind of shut down, and I'm just like I just need a break from all of this, rather than get too stuck into my own stuff. But yeah,
That's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I do think I have a little bit of like ADHD sometimes, so I think maybe that's maybe why I could jump from project to project in terms of like I can literally like on a dime go like, okay, what is the world of this story? Boom, what is the world of this story? Boom, and it's not hard for me. But I understand why it is for other people. I guess it's like the difference between like a method actor and somebody else, just different approach to the art form. Buff up my social media presence so I have more of a platform for my book. It's not a
Good
bad
idea.
strategy, yeah. No, but it is a risky one because social media will suck you in and remove the productivity from you. So be careful. But it is a good idea because yes, it does help for sure. When you get that balance right, it does help a lot. You have to be careful because there's a lot of social media that's just wasting your time essentially in terms of that. If your ultimate goal is to build a platform, it's not really going to do that. It might make you a little entertained or something, but yeah. And nobody of course knows the exact science, right, of the exact things to get a platform, or if they have, they won't share it with anybody else once they do. uh Resolution: learn marketing. Yes, you do have to market your own stuff, and you might think, well, I don't want to self-publish. Well, it doesn't matter. Even if you're traditionally published, you still have to market your own stuff
That is so
because
true. Yeah.
yeah, it's the sad truth, I guess. I mean, maybe some people like to do that sort of stuff, but no, you really have to hawk your own stuff. It's just how it works. You gotta break through the noise, and you're responsible for that too, no matter if you're self-published or not. It's kind of one of those things.
yeah, the marketing side is a roller coaster. So that's it's a lofty goal, but it's a good goal to have
Yes.
to get to grips with that. Very important.
I think one of the biggest tricks too with marketing is just to realize that there really is no like perfect solution. So it's not when you're not getting anywhere, don't be like, man, if only I did that one thing, everything would line up. Probably not. It's not that specific, right? It's a lot of trial and error, and it does get very nuanced. And then once you find success, you're not necessarily even going to be able to repeat it the same way. It's going to shift on you. So it's a lot of trial and error, and it's not an exact science. So in terms of, can you actually learn marketing, you can kind of learn best practices, but it's just the same as why some books go viral and take off and some books don't. It's not an exact science, and it's no reflection necessarily on your knowledge of what makes for good marketing if you are not able to get a platform, unfortunately. It's almost would be nicer if you could say that, right? It's like, well, obviously I'm not getting anywhere because I'm just doing a lousy job, but because then I can fix it. But it really isn't that simplistic. So let's see what else we got here. Just looking. Uh, leave a ton of paper and computer files for friends and family to clean up. I like that. Wendy is going to getting into blood and gore mode. Well, there you go, Gareth.
Nice, Wendy.
Excellent.
Bring on the dark fantasy.
Bring on the dark. Hit squash with a cast iron skillet for research. Are you also writing horror and you want to know like how certain things react to certain pressure or something like
Yes, it
that?
sounded to me. I saw your post about that in the community, and it sounded to me like somebody in that story is getting their head smashed in, and it made me think. I did respond to that saying it would be a good idea to get a little microphone down next to it so you can record the sound as well that it
Oh,
makes as it squishes and breaks open. Because
oh,
it made me think of one of the short films I worked on, and one of the most fun aspects that we did creating that film was the Foley work, and
that would be fun.
it was something I directed, and we needed a shot of a knife being twisted in the back of someone's neck and pulled out. And to get the sound for that, we just got a whole bunch of different fruits, like grapefruit and all these soft
Watermelon
fruits.
and stuff.
Very, very close mic up to it, stick a knife in, and just twisting the knife around in there with the sound isolated, and it's all icky. And sorry if anybody's
Nice.
feeling a bit vomitous there, but it was so
I'm
much
okay.
fun.
I got my coffee.
Right in the middle of lunchtime. And here I was
Yes,
thinking,
yes.
it's the next
I think Garrett's
cast iron
resolution.
chef.
I think Garrett's resolution is to make me pass out on the live stream ever since I've told him that I'm squeamish. So he's like, one of these days, I'm going to be graphic enough to make Daniel pass out. And hey, I can't guarantee it'll never happen. This is why I don't write horror. And if you submit a horror story for a story inspection, I'm probably not going to read it.
Well, hey, all I'm saying is, if you're gonna do that for research for the impact, do it for the sound as well. Something like a
Yeah, no,
skillet
it's a
too. You
good
get a
point.
nice way to describe the bung, as it smacks off whatever it is you're hitting. Just assuming
Oh,
it's someone's head, but you don't know.
yeah, it's true. No, but yeah, sound getting into lots of different sensory details for sure. That's what makes people like me get queasy. All right. Uh stop tweaking my book and forward with sending to editor, agent, publisher. Yes, sometimes what is it they say? Good art is not finished, just abandoned, right? It just you just stop, you walk away, and you just that's it.
Yeah.
You can always tweak. Just ask George Lucas, and it doesn't always go the best.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough.
Exactly. Exactly. There comes a day when you need to release it to the wild. Yes. So dramatic. The the
It's
little,
true.
the little
It's true. You can't sit on it forever.
no. And because honestly, too, if it's one of those things, it's like, well, what if they hate it? It's like, well, if they hate it, you'll have information. And if you have information, well, then the next book, you'll probably learn from that information. That's always positive. You can always look at everything, everything is a learning experience, right? And that's like the worst case scenario. Maybe they'll like it. It's possible, right? You liked it at one point. Maybe give yourself a little more credit. Maybe it'll work out okay. Um, when do you know it's time to hit the delete button on a writing project or run them through the shredder? That's a good point, right? When do
Don't
you
delete
walk
them.
away? Yeah, I feel like why delete text? It's so small. Just put it in a parking lot somewhere. You know. I don't know if you ever need it. Like, I mean, like back in the day when you actually had to store it and it was like paper, I can understand that, but a text file. But see, again, I'm a data hoarder, so maybe that's not the best. What do you do, Gareth? Do you ever just like flat out delete stuff so you never have to look at it again because you just hate it that much?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Oh,
No, things that, and I always recommend if something just isn't working, and you're not feeling it. You can get to the point where so far in you're just not feeling it. So this is not happening, um, and it's not the story that you wanted to tell. It can be super frustrating, and of course you can be like, "This is awful, and I don't like it. I'm going to delete it." But often it's the cause is simply that certain elements aren't coming together, right? But if you again break that story up into its constituent parts, whether we're talking characters, the hook, even just the setting that you've already started writing about, that could be used elsewhere. So rather than trash the whole lot, it's just try pulling it apart into bits and find the bits that seem to work and transfer them elsewhere.
Yeah. If I had deleted my book back from college with the bad writing, I wouldn't have the one that's going in the box set this year. It could be 10
there you
plus
go.
years later and you're pulling that book back out again. So stow it away, put it in the
Yep.
trunk.
Yep. Publish first horror novel. Awesome. Get your work out there, get your voice heard. That's great. Finish development editing and get it done. Yes, get it done. That's so important. Ooh, that's like an AutoCrit shirt. The keyboard can be as frightening as the bathroom scale. I just love that phrasing.
Oh.
It's like they're a writer or something. I don't know. I'm hoping to figure out between my left and right without shaking my right hand first. Or do you do the L? What's the backwards L? I did that for the longest time. I still do it, I think.
So, no, Daniel, your other left.
Right? My son does that. He's like, turn left, daddy. My son's a backseat driver sometimes. Published 2 anthologies with 9 other authors, published Velo books, published 2 to 3 books, and write short stories for short reads. Nice. Productive schedule.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's great to have an idea of essentially a business plan for yourself for the year, and nice diverse amount of outlets there. So yeah, somebody's going places. Entering more writing contests and submitting short stories to more magazines. My next goal is to qualify for a SFWA membership. Nice.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I always think for that kind of starting level, it's a really great goal to have, is just looking at that qualification benchmark for whichever organizational body represents your genre. I think that's a great target to have.
Yeah, that is nice. And it gives you a sense of validation, right, when you get there, because you always have that imposter syndrome, but it's like, well, at least I made that benchmark, right? When you can get there. That's really cool. Be creative every day and don't push myself past the point of burnout. And I'm publishing 1 book this month, but I'd like to publish at least 3 for the end of the year. Nice. So yeah, it is very important. We've talked about that before, tips like the Pomodoro timer, just to keep yourself from being as burned out, or, stopping yourself before you really are at that wall, so that when you come back, you're all excited and things like that. So that's great. That does tend to work well. 1 project for 4 months, finishing 3 for the year, successfully completing the editing for the nanobooks written from 2015 to 2021. It's got a backlog of editing to do. That's fun. So it sounds like maybe you might be a little apprehensive about editing, but don't be. We have some great videos about editing if you want to go back to our archives. And yeah, self-editing is tough, but it is something that you should do. And yes, we do recommend, using our software, of course, and then we have our author services and things like that for more, the next level of editing, but get a lot of it done yourself. So that way, when you bring it to an editor, because I can tell you, Catherine appreciates that if you spend a lot of time self-editing, because then she can focus on what's going to really make it shine. And she's not having to spend a lot of time on basic things that you probably could have picked up if you just would have been a little more diligent. So absolutely. Finish editing my consequential love series and maybe try writing a story in first person. Ooh, trying a new point of view. That's a good idea. And read a few writing books. Yeah, that's true. Not only reading books in the genre, but reading books about writing could be very helpful. You can get some cool tips.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gareth.
I was just agreeing with that. As much as we say read books all year, and don't neglect books on craft as well, especially highly rated ones. Watch out for low rated ones. Like sometimes less than useful, but certainly highly rated ones are well worth the time.
Yeah.
And don't forget to skim over the updates to whatever manual of style you're using, especially if you're self-publishing.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because different things change. You are not the only person frustrated with editing. That's one reason we're here. Just remember that. We're here every week at 1:00. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Hold on, I lost my place. Resolution is to finish my website and get 5 clients before the bills pay up. Yep, it's important to keep your lights on, right? As much as we love our hobbies when we're not making a living writing, you do need to have that peace of mind, right? So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off for sure. And maybe those clients are in the writing field. I'm not sure. It could be that you're like a copywriter or something like that. That's not uncommon. Reading my stories out loud. Yes, that's a good idea. And if you use the AutoCrit software, you can highlight it and have it read it to you out loud, which may be helpful as well. It's great. It's like having your own little actor there. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just trying to catch up here. I think I've mostly caught up. If I did not share your resolution, please remind me. I certainly do not want to miss anybody. I am just so happy to see all this productivity and creativity going out into the world. I mean, it's just awesome because this is not just work for the sake of work, right? This is art, and this is your personal expression, and it's so cool. I don't know. I just get so excited about it. That's why I do this. I get so excited about it, and I get so excited about people and empowering themselves and moving forward and growing and all of that fun and fuzzy stuff for sure. I'll get my memoir published this year. I enjoy editing. What I noticed is sleeping over it is crucial. The mind continues working. It tremendously improves the root work. Yes, if you've been watching our little what to do after the draft, remember it's always let it rest, right? We always have that part of the process. And really when you're letting it rest, it doesn't mean your mind has completely forgotten about it, right? Usually it's kind of in the back of your mind. So when you get back to it, yes, you're fresh to it, but you probably had some thinking going on in the back of your mind while that was happening. Added AutoCrit Tuesday presentations. Aw, that's so sweet. I appreciate it.
Excellent.
I appreciate it. Is the AutoCrit reader using the voices of Dan or Garrett? No, we want people to actually use it, so they definitely do not use my voice. I actually really like Garrett's voice, so I would totally use that.
There's a big variety, though, in all different types of English. Like, there's American English, voices you can choose from, and UK English. And is there Australian English? I don't know. I haven't used Australian.
I think so. I know there's a couple different accents which could be helpful because sometimes I find that listening to it in a different accent can help me pick it out a little differently because I just hear it differently. I don't know. I've always wondered, like, how is that in the Gareth, since you're from the UK? How is it like? Do you feel like when you hear something read in an American accent, it hits you differently than in a British accent?
Yeah,
or is that just an American thing? Okay, I figure it would work both ways.
I quite agree. Yeah, I tend to bounce mine between the British accents and American accents to just kind of see how it lands. I think much the same as you. There's always a subtle difference.
Yeah, exactly. Patrick Stewart, I wish. I mean, hey, if you want to call up his agent and see if he's willing to do some voice work for us, I'm more than happy to have that happen because, yes, of course.
I love what Jim says. I will be as confident about my writing as my friends are about my writing.
I hope that's a good thing, though. I couldn't tell. I'm like, I hope your friends are giving you support. Yeah, exactly. I hope those are true friends that give you support. Well, it's like they say, it's good to have somebody that is honestly just that cheerleader because we need the critics in our lives, the people to edit, but we also do need sometimes people that do nothing but say, wow, that was amazing no matter what. And you know that, but it still helps. It still helps every time. They're like, wow, you did it. I'm so proud of you. That was great that you just got it done. And they don't care about anything else. That could be really helpful to have. I have friends like that literally I could probably send them my laundry and they'd be like, wow, that's amazing, and I know that, but it doesn't matter. It still makes me feel better because they're just so supportive. So yeah,
Jeanette's comment. Jeanette, if you're not plugged into Mighty Networks, you should definitely come check us out. There is a very active group of horror writers in Mighty Networks, which is the AutoCrit community that's free with any pro membership, and you can come on there and even ask for critiques on our writers seeking readers group. There's a bunch of neat things in there.
Yeah, start a few conversations in there, post a couple of things. Sure, people will give you some feedback on them.
Yeah. British accents, my GPS. Yes, my GPS has a British accent. I find that the reason why is because I'm not around anybody with a British accent, and so when I hear that British accent, I clue into it a lot faster. So to me, it works better for directions. So. Although I could make Gareth, although I have a feature where it could be somebody else's voice, so maybe I could get Gareth to do it, and then Gareth could give me directions as I go.
What it says, what you're saying really here is you need a Northern Irish accent.
I think so. I think so. There we go. Well, there we go, Gareth. I'll have you record it for me sometime, and then I'll have Gareth lead
We
me
just
around.
make for the most confusing journeys. Like, turn what way? What road? What?
Thankfully, it knows that part of it. The people are super nice on the Mighty Networks. Yes, they are. We have a wonderful community, and I love hanging out with you here on these live streams as well. But yeah, within the Mighty Networks, you can chat back and forth and exchange ideas and beta reads and all kinds of stuff going on there. And special member only events. Like pretty soon, we're going to have a story doctor with me, which will be fun because people can come on and ask me a bunch of questions. And if you're on the Mighty Networks, make sure you keep checking that events page and RSVPing to the event so that way you get a little notification. So that's helpful. All right, but I feel like we've pretty much gone through our resolutions and we're running a little bit low on time. So for those of you who haven't already, because this is going to be a great year and we're going to continue doing these live streams, yes, like, subscribe, hit the bell, send it to your friends, your writer friends, and join us on Tuesdays. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we're going to be doing some brainstorming, right, Gareth? Is that what we're doing?
We will. We figure, well, it's the start of the year. Why don't we, if you've come into the new year without a project already, join us, start coming up with some ideas. We'll do some group brainstorm sessions and see what we can come up with in terms of like little plotlets or hooks and maybe run with them. Something new for 2022.
Yeah, and maybe something will come from there that I'll ask if I can borrow and use as my crazy project that I'll work on for the year. Who knows? It's possible. I love doing those fun brainstorms. So we have different brainstorming activities and exercises that we like to do. I'm not sure which one we're going to pull out of the wings. You just have to check it out next Tuesday and you'll find out. But I can guarantee you it's going to be a little bit wild, a little bit zany, and we'll probably end up with beets and mushrooms because that's just generally what happens around here.
Yeah, pretty sure that's a cert.
Yeah, and dad jokes. Remember, dad jokes are important.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, so if that sounds fun and exciting, and I don't know why it wouldn't, join us next week, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. In the meantime, you have a fantastic 2022. Thank you,
Yes.
Catherine. Do you have any words of wisdom for 2022 for all our writer friends out there?
Just remember to be kind to yourselves. Aim
That's very
high
wise, actually.
and be kind to yourself wherever you fall.
That's very wise. Very wise. Yes. Remember, it's supposed to be fun, right?
That's right.
Gareth.
While being kind to yourself, do the work.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll pull
Be
the hard
kind to
side.
yourself, but don't be too self-indulgent either. Because you're not gonna. That's not really kind to yourself, right? That's just allowing you to not be your better self. Be your best self. You know. And when you fall short of your best self, be kind, but don't let yourself fall into your not so great self. Because you're not gonna like yourself. That's a lot of self in a I'm gonna edit that. Anyway, that being said, we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.